Hi everyone, today we're talking about an example of a Royal Commission. So we're going to be looking at the Victorian Royal Commission into police informants. Make sure that if you're doing a different Royal Commission, it's within the last 4 years because it says recent Royal Commission. So what is it? Well, in 2018, on the 13th of December, the Victorian government established a Royal Commission to report on the recruitment and management of police informants. For those of you who don't know, a police informant is basically someone who gives information to the police about criminal offending. And they should be subject to confidentiality of the police and protection of the police. So in order to kind of understand why we have this Royal Commission, we need to take a step back and look at some of the history behind it. So the Royal Commission was established after there was a High Court hearing which revealed that a prominent criminal defence barrister who was called Nicola Gobo, had acted as a police informant for the Victorian Police between 1995 and 2009. So during this time, she was a lawyer and she was representing clients. And during this time, she basically passed on information about her clients and their associates without their knowledge to the police. So she was passing on insider information. This went against her legal obligations as a lawyer to maintain client privilege. She had represented a number of high-profile ganglands figures, so this made it even more controversial. At the time, the High Court described Miss Gobo's conduct and the Victorian Police as a corruption of the criminal justice system. They believed that Miss Gobo had committed fundamental and appalling breaches of her obligations as a counsellor to her clients. They also believed the Victorian Police had horrendous conduct and that the convictions of her clients had been corrupt in the manner in which or had been corrupted in a manner which debased the fundamental premises of the criminal justice system, i.e. basically because she disclosed information, it went against the right to a fair hearing. So the government decided because of this, the Royal Commission needed to be established in order to ensure that this would never happen again, essentially. So let's continue on. So the terms of references, so what were they actually investigating? So there were 6 main terms of references. So the number and the extent to which cases were affected. So here, the conduct of the police in their disclosures about and management of Miss Gobo, the adequacy of policies and management of human sources or police informants, the current use of human sources with legal obligations. They needed to look at any recommendations about any other police informants with legal obligations that came to the Commissioner's attention, and any recommendations to address any systematic failures of the Victorian Police in the management of police informants with legal obligations. So it was all around the management of current policies around police informants. So who did they hear from? Well, they heard from a lot of people. They got over 155,000 documents in response to requests for information, so the initial establishment of the Royal Commission. When they called for public submissions, they received 157 submissions from people who Miss Gobo had actually represented, as well as a range of stakeholders from the police and legal professional groups. They reviewed 1,156 potentially affected people. They examined and talked to, during the public hearing, 82 witnesses over 129 days. They conducted a range of focus groups with the Victorian police officers who currently manage or have previously managed informants. They did an audit of any human source or informant files, and they also consulted with a range of experts across the world. So what were the key recommendations? Well, the final report was delivered in November 2020, so about 2 years. They made 111 recommendations with fairly tight timeframes. Some of them needed to be done within the first couple of months. And these were all accepted by the Victorian government and are currently being implemented as of today. So it was a fairly successful Royal Commission. Some of the recommendations included to appoint a special investigator to basically consider whether or not they should discipline or prosecute any of the police officers or Miss Gobo involved during this time. They decided or recommended to appoint an implementation monitor to oversee the government's role in implementing the recommendations. They suggested changes needed to be made on how the Victorian Police manages human sources with legal obligations, and they suggested that there needed to be some oversight by the Anti-Corruption Committee and the Public Interest Monitor in order to ensure that those human sources are treated correctly. They suggested some improvements on how the Victorian Police should make disclosures about human sources, including those who have obligations of confidentiality. And they also suggested that the legal profession needed to report misconduct, or change the way in which they reported misconduct, how they actually trained lawyers in their ethical obligations, and also to ensure that Miss Gobo was removed from the role. So how effective was this change? Well, a number of recommendations were implemented within the 3 to 6 month mark after the report occurred. The cost overall to the government to conduct the Royal Commission was $40 million, and the Victorian Police spent around $60 million responding to it. A further $89 million has been committed by the Victorian government to implement the recommendations. In 2021, the Victorian government did establish a special investigator to investigate any potential misconduct and breaches of discipline relating to the recruitment, management and use of or use by the Victorian Police of Miss Gobo as a human resource. The Victorian government has provided IBAC and the courts with more resources and funding to prevent corruption. They've also created the Human Resource Bill 2002, and the Human Resource Bill was created to deliver on the 25 recommendations from the Royal Commission. So the bill was designed to provide a clear framework for police to obtain and use information from a police informant, and the bill ensures that there are protections in place to manage these risks. Some of these ways in which they're managing these risks are oversight by IBAC, and also the Victorian Police has to apply to a senior officer to register the person as an informant. Lastly, there were changes made on how the legal profession does report misconduct, and they ensured that Miss Gobo was removed from the Victorian bar role. All right, that's it for today.